Will it be charged or is it free?
Of course, you will be charged, definitely. But since you have got those credits when you created free account, like 13,000 or something, what Rakesh told me,
Okay,
so it will be charged to that credits. And post you have exhausted your 13,000, it will automatically disable your Azure subscription. You will no longer be able to create any of the services, and existing services that you have created will be deallocated or deleted or stopped basically. You can't use them.
okay,
So yes, even if you have created any virtual machine and you are not stopping it or deleting it, then the charge will keep on accruing. So let's say if you have created today and after 5 days it is still running, and after 5 days you will see that out of your 13,000, some thousand or 1,200 would have gone. So your remaining balance would be around 11 or 12,000. So the important thing is, if you want to save money, make sure that once you have created the virtual machine, try deleting it from the portal. There is an option to delete it. So the best
sure.
way to delete it,
Yeah,
because whenever you create virtual machine, make sure you create a resource group, new resource group, and try to create all the new virtual machine in that resource group. That way, what would happen
sure.
is all your resources like the NIC or net virtual network or public IP address will be created in that resource group. So when you want to delete, you don't have to delete the individual resource. You just go and delete the resource group, and then everything related to that virtual machine gets deleted automatically. I will actually show that to you today. So that's the advantage. So you need to delete the virtual machine for you to not accrue that cost.
Okay,
So after you are done creating and you don't have any use of that virtual machine, just go and delete it, so that you save on money and you can use it to learning other services. So virtual machine is just a starter, but there are a lot many other services that we are going to learn as part of this foundation course. So you would need some credits to use or create those services. Okay, so let's get started. Is Hallie joined this call? It's not yet. Okay. Um, so let me open this script again. So we faced certain challenges last time around at the very last step to configure the SSH public key for the virtual machine login. And okay, we faced some issues. So I'll again we'll again go through that steps, but I'll this time I'll explain you the issue that we faced. It was very simple mistake that we were doing. We were actually on the right path. So let's go through that. So this is a pretty complex script. This is one of the so virtual machine is one of the resource that if you create using PowerShell, you need to write this complex script. But otherwise, all other resources within Azure portal are pretty straightforward. Within a couple of lines, you should be able to create them. It's only virtual machine which takes this much inputs. But yeah, so once you get hold of this script, right, what it is doing and what each of this command is there, you'll have a good understanding on PowerShell as well as the commandlets within Azure for PowerShell. Let's start. So I actually created the virtual machine. I'm in the correct direct. No, I'm in the wrong direct. Let me just log in. Those groups. Which okay, I'm into WAM trial. Go to Yeah, so this is the virtual machine. So go to resource group. So this we are trying to create. So we have this virtual machine, and I can connect to this. Rakesh, I believe you used Putty to connect to this, right? But we can connect using shell as well here directly. So to connect to this, we have to run a command, an SSH command. We can use this. Just close this. We don't have that command anywhere. SSH. Okay, let's try that. There is a command SSH hyphen I, and we need to provide the path here dollar SSH hyphen SSH dot it slash. So this is under the directory, the private key. I need to point it to ID underscore RSA, and I need to type in the user Azure user at the rate the IP address of my machine, which is this. Okay, let's try using this now. Okay, so I am into my virtual machine right now. So this is the command data and paste it here. So see, so right, I am into right now that virtual machine, Linux virtual machine. So Azure user at my VM, and it gives me the basic details like the CPU, memory usage, and which version of the Linux I am using. So this is how you can remote into your Linux virtual machine. This is one way of doing it using the private key. There is another way like you can use admin password. So once you are in, you can start typing your commands. So if you know some Linux commands, you can start typing them here, and it should work. So how did we create this virtual machine? How did we resolve that issue? So let me take you through that steps. What we will do first step is we will go and delete this entire virtual machine and then recreate it again. So this is the resource group, so I can go and delete these individual resources if I want to, or either I can delete the entire resource group itself, so that all this gets deleted automatically. So I'll go to this my resource group. I can delete it and then delete resource group and type the name of the resource group, my resource group. So this way all of this will get deleted. This will take some time to delete all these resources. So meanwhile, Rakesh, what challenge did you face while creating the virtual machine from that PowerShell script
The same error yesterday which we got.
on that day, right? So I
Yeah.
uploaded the correct. So in the PPT, if you used this, so this should ideally work now. Hopefully, if you created this in Azure PowerShell, I mean in the shell. PowerShell.
Mm.
That shell. If you have used Azure shell, then it should work. Only thing is you need to change this directory path. It would be different
Yeah.
for you.
Yes, 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 yes.
Okay, so here you face this challenge.
Yes, yes. I tried to create that SSH key, like
You
but it is
this you
not
have to
working for
use
me.
this. You didn't run this step.
No, I didn't do that.
Yeah, so you have to run this step. So once you run this step, you will get this file. Once you get this
Okay,
file, then only this command will work because it is trying to get
okay,
content from this particular file. So yeah, this is the step. You can run this step in PowerShell also. So last time I ran it in Bash, but you can run it in PowerShell. So this is it. So let's. What I have done is I have actually stored this entire
uh, uh,
script in here.
sir, I'm having one doubt.
Yeah.
How this public key is related to that only that VM? Sorry, that VM.
Yes. So you are creating this key here itself, right? In this step,
Mm.
and
Yes.
then you are getting the public key in this variable. Okay, this public key is
Okay.
passed on to the virtual machine. How is it passed?
Okay.
Because you are adding this command ACVM SSH public key. So this will associate the public key with that VM. See, VM, and then you are adding into that VM configuration, and that the public key data, whatever is this get content will give, it will store in here, and it will be passed on as a parameter to the VM configuration. It will be attached using this command.
If after creating VM, if I want to generate a public key, how can I do that?
After you can use the same command to create a public key, and then you need to
The
upload
same
it
one.
into that virtual machine.
Okay.
So, but that would be little complex. You need to first get the virtual machine and then create this VM configuration and then attach. Use the same command let again, and then you can instead of add there would be uh, or there would be add only. So it's not you are going to add a new public key. You can use the same command there.
I'll try that.
The same way you can do it because this command you can run it independently. You don't have to go through this. But yeah, to run it independently, you have to get this VM hyphen VM config. So instead of creating this VM config, so if you go and create this VM config, like it will be too cumbersome. What you can do is there is a command called get VM. So like there is a new VM, Azure VM. There is a command let
Okay.
get AZ VM. We will look into it.
Okay.
Then we'll pass here. This will get triggered. Okay, so what I have done is actually instead of referring it in local, you can very well go into and save that file here. So when you open Cloud Shell, you will have this untitled, some notepad kind of thing here. You can go and save your script here and then say click save. So this way it will ask for file name and then you can store it. So that is what I did here in the VM create. I just copied that script here. So we will use this script to execute it. Now if I go and run this script, right, it will give me error because uh, all these resources are already existing and I'm using still the same name. I'm still using the same resource group and all this my VM, OS disk name and everything. Certain cases it might differ because this is random GUID. But in this case it will fail because it will try to create the same resource and it will fail. So it's not idempotent. We talked about idempotent, right, when we were talking about ARM templates. ARM templates are idempotent. That means no matter how many times you run that ARM template, it will create the Azure VM. If it is already there, it will not change it, it will not delete them and recreate it. It will be there, it will just ignore it. That is item total.
Or else if PowerShell command,
PowerShell command, since you're trying to add, it will fail. See, what you're trying to create
okay,
is new ACVM, but that new ACVM is already there, right?
yes,
So it will fail. If we'll run
okay,
this now, let's run this. Let's run this resource group if it is still there. Let me just copy this. Control Shift V. Oh, we are in the bash. Okay, let me switch to Power. I hope this resource group still exists. See, it is saying already exists. So do you want to override? So for resource group, this is the option you get. Let's say yes, it will start. So it is since we are deleting that resource group, so it gave an error. You can't do that
yeah,
operation right now. Let's try deleting. This is basically you can try it on your own and see what behavior, what error it gives. But in case of ARM template, those are silently handled by the ARM resource itself. You don't have to worry about it. What it will also do is, if there are any changes you are making, let's say instead of in these my resource security groups, this got deleted. Okay. If there are any changes, let's say in the my VM this script, instead of this location, you say some other location. It will try to create that. I mean, it will if it finds the same resource group in that same location, and there are certain properties which are changing in that, it will try to change the properties. While it won't create it, but since the resource is already created, but the properties have changed, so it will change that property. So what it will do at the end of the day is, whatever is your ARM template saying, it will make sure that the same state exists in the Azure portal, same state of that resource. That is kind of what. Okay. Meanwhile, we'll learn a feature called as function in PowerShell. Let us go through that. You know functions? I mean, in general, I'm speaking of in programming languages, we have functions, right?
yeah, yes,
Yeah, the same concept again follows here. Let me open the script here. But the only change is the syntax. How do you write functions? Why am I using this again? We can write function in PowerShell, and then function basically makes your PowerShell. If you have a long PowerShell script, it makes modular, and you can reuse the code within that function in multiple places, just like a variable it is, where you can use the value within that variable across your script. You can use the functionality within that function across your PowerShell script. So function. So this is how you write function. So function, and then you say the name of that function. Let's say we are trying to get some get name, something get name, and then you start the function and end the function block using this curly braces. And if it takes some parameters, let's say, then you use this keyword parameter, and then pass in the variable. So variable, the way we use variable is assigning it a dollar sign, dollar, and let's say item name, whatever it is, item name. And then we can use that variable. So we'll just output that variable and see. Okay, uh, the name of the item is dollar item name. Then we can call this function the same way. So get name parameter item name, and then we'll give some name. So let's first run this function. Don't give any output. There now let's. So you see the output, the name of the item is Azure. The simplest way you can write the function, and the same concept follows. So there is nothing new to learn here. Whatever you know of the function concepts in that programming language, the same would apply here. But in simplistic format, this is how it look like. The only change would be how you define the parameters and the keywords here. There is no, in other programming languages, you might have used the public, private, all those access modifiers. But here, it is simple. So this has the scope of, you can call this function within this script itself. If you make it modular, then you can call it from other. You have to import this PowerShell script in another PowerShell script, and then you can start using these functions as well. So this is the, let's see if our resource group got deleted. I hope it got deleted. Yeah, it got deleted. Fine. So let's start running our script. So what I can do is here, uh, I'll run this as a single command. So I'll just copy everything instead, just not everything here till here, and we'll run this in one go. So the mistake that we were making was once we created this key gen and it was available the key, I didn't use this .pub. So what I was instead passing was without this, like this command. So it was giving an error. So let me run actually till this point, then you will see that error. Okay, so I'll just copy and then paste it here. Start running. Okay, so we came till this command. Let's run this. It will ask for some name. Let's key file. Overwrite, yes. Enter password. Training at the end. 6. So it created that file. Okay. Now let's use this. Let's run this script line. So what should give me the error that we faced on that day? Okay. Now if we use this command to associate that public key, should get an error. See, cannot convert system.object to the type system.string. This was the error we were receiving on that day. And the way the reason it is giving is because if you go and see this id underscore rsa, there are two things. Okay, This is a multi-line text string, so this is treated as an object there. But if you see this, this is a single line text, so this is treated as a string here. That is the reason we got that error. If we go back to our script again, and then we change it to dot pub. Okay, let's try this again. Okay, so it worked now, and then we will run our final command to create the VM. So this might take some time. Okay, so then let's proceed forward till the time it gets created. So okay, where were we here? Okay, so this was PowerShell. Uh, a good foundation on this, and there was something else I wanted to show you that I told last time around. So let me show that here. This. Or I can create a new session from here. Okay, so we were looking at one of the command, let get help, and we were not able to get that. So get ran that command successfully. So get help on a command called get new az resource group. Okay, we were looking specifically for examples type, if you remember. And that time it didn't run it because it didn't had that updated help files. So after I ran update help, and all the help files got downloaded into my Cloud Shell here. Now when I run this get help examples, it gives me the examples here. So if you see now, new AZ resource group, it gives you the details about those, what it does, and then it will give you an example, multiple examples if it has. Like create an empty resource group. So new AZ resource group, the name of the resource group, the location. This is one way of doing it, wherein you pass, this is like named parameters. You pass the values to those parameters by naming them, or otherwise you can skip this and then just pass the values in the position. So the way it is accepted in the sequence. So the first parameters is rg01, so you pass that value, and the second parameter is location, you directly pass the value. So this is called positional parameters. Without actually providing the name of that parameter, you can pass the values directly using this, but you need to understand, okay, at which position that parameter exists. Here you can actually very well place name after you give parameter location. That way it works because it knows, okay, this value is for this parameter. Then you can also create a resource group with optional parameter called tag. So how do you pass tag here? You just use this parameter and pass the values, key value pairs here, empty, null, department, marketing. So this is how you can use example. This is extremely useful when you're learning a new commandlets for Azure in PowerShell. So use this as much as possible. So let's try for resource group get help on get az resource group. Do we have any such command first? Yeah. Okay, we have that. So let's look at the examples. Yeah. So it gives you the example like say get az resource group, name and engineering. So you just provide the name. You can also use the asterisk here, which is a pattern matching. So whichever resource group that starts with this engineering block and whatever is the other text, it will just ignore and then give you all the resource groups. Let's look at something called guest AZ VM and examples. Okay, sorry, get ACVM get help. Okay, so this is what you can use. Get ACVM location S2S, so it will return all the VMs with that location, or we can use the first example. It should stay there. Yeah, simple. You just provide the resource group name under which that virtual machine exists, and then the name of the virtual machine, and you will have the entire virtual machine in a variable. And once you put this in a variable, you can put this value in a variable, or you can pipe it and then go to this command. So Rakesh, this is for you since you asked this question. You will get this once you run this command. Okay, and you put that in a variable. That variable you can pass it to this -vm. So you don't have to reconstruct this everything again
Okay.
because you have that entire Azure VM in that variable now. And pass it here.
Yes.
And then you create this SSH public key the way we have created here. Okay, just run this command and then use this and then pass that variable. And the path basically, this would be similar. So yeah, this is how you can add a new public key after the VM is created. And then you can start using that here. You just need to. So once this is created, let's see if our got created. Let me refresh this. So my resource group, do we have our my group are created? So yeah, now we will have a different IP. So let's copy this and run command to connect to that. So SSH -I and we'll go to that path /.sh/rs and Azure user @ that number, and let's try connecting to that. So just a warning. So warning you would find when you turn the remote into any Windows machine, for example, it will ask you, do you want to trust the certificate or not? You say yes, that is fine.
Yes.
Now I am connected to this. If you know any Linux command, you can tell me. I know ls. I'm not an expert on Linux though. So whatever command you know of, you can run and then start using. So that's how. It's very important that you understand each and every step here, what it does and how it works. We have also used piping here. If you in the VM config, if you can see it. So this is the pipeline command that we learned. Okay, then we used how to create a password, securely store password and pass that to our credential object. Okay, this is common. Whenever you have something, where you have to pass some secure strings to any of the commands or any of the Azure resources needs that credentials, you can use this. This is a common uh, command we run across dealing with Azure resources in PowerShell. Okay, I hope it's clear now. If anything you need any clarity, let me know. This is very important because now we are going to close PowerShell here and then we'll move on to CLI and then we'll look how do we create CLI. In CLI, it is pretty straightforward, not that complicated. Are we good, Srinu, Rakesh?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so practice it. So see, it looks simple because I ran it here and it all worked. Practice it yourself. Try changing something here. Maybe try giving some other rules as well. Add some other rules. Like if you are hosting it on a IIS web server on this or in some web server, try opening HTTP port there. Uh, it is an NSG rule. You need another NSG rule. Try attaching that NSG rule here. Okay, so one question here before I move on. You guys have to answer that. Uh, Let me just note it down. So while creating VM, which all resources you have to create? One by one, you guys tell me. What is the first thing that you need? What all resources you create basically when you create a VM in
Resource group
resource group
name.
first? Yeah, resource group. Let's not go into detail. Just say resource group is something that you need. Yes. What else? You need to keep the VM in some resource group. So that resource group is there. What else you need?
We need to select the region.
Sorry, what?
Region.
Region you need to have, that is important. This is something very common to all the resources that you create. What else? What are the dependent resources that you have to create a VM?
OS.
OS is one, yeah, you need to supply that as a parameter, but that's not dependent resource. Okay, then Srinu, anything you remember?
IP address.
IP address, yeah, so that is public IP or private IP. IP address is mandatory, you need to have that. So public IP, you when you have public IP, where will the public IP go in? I mean, on which object you will assign public IP? So think of your laptop or desktop. What all things it has?
NIC.
NIC, the network interface card, right? You need to have the network interface card to assign public IP. So network interface card, what does it do?
It allows us to connect to the internet.
Internet. So that some network you need to connect to. So what do you need then? You need to place that VM in somewhere, right? So that you can use this NIC card to connect to internet. So what do you need then? You need a network, right? You need a network, but you will not use a
Yes.
physical network. Physical network is
Virtual
only
network.
virtual network. So you need a virtual network. Virtual network should have a subnet because you are
Yes.
going
Yes.
to place that VM in a subnet, not in a virtual network. Then you would
Yes.
need the disk, right?
Yes.
Where you are going to keep your,
It
what
is.
else you need? So in specifically here, you need to open the port. So you need some
Yes.
rules, SSH rule. So SSH
Yes.
rule is part of network security group. So you need a network security.
Yes.
It's like a firewall.
Look. Yes.
This is all you need. And then you need to generate SSH keys. You need to log into the password. Sorry, to log into that VM.
Let us say. Yes.
So the reason I'm emphasizing on this is because you might not remember all these commands. You will remember these things though. But if once you remember these things, you will automatically know what command you need to use. But you can discover those
Yes.
commands using GitHub. So you see, the way to learn this is not to memorize all these things. If you memorize, you might, if you're using it on a day-to-day basis, that is okay. But if you're not, after an year or so, you will forget. So the way to understand this is understand the basics first. Like when I create a VM, what all things I need. So I know NIC. Now I can get a command. If I don't know what is the command, I can use get help and noun and then find all the commands related to Nick. So I can
Yes.
discover those commands without memorizing. This way it will be easy for you also to learn things. So we
Yes.
created this SSH key, virtual machine configuration, operating system, as you rightly said. Some image we need. right? OS is that only image. Basically, it will say Linux VM I needed. Public IP address, as Srinu said, that belongs to the network interface correctly. And then you have network security group. You have some rule. You have public IP. Then you have virtual network, subnet, resource group. That's all. What else you need? You're good with it. This is what you need. This is how you. We are good with that. Then we'll move on to the CLI now. Let's look at CLI. So Azure CLI, it's pretty straightforward here, and it's it's also very standard. You don't have to memorize things. If you just go through and learn few commands, the other commands should be pretty easy for you guys. So here again, to create a VM, you first create a resource group. So this works exactly opposite to the PowerShell. Okay. So you first tell, okay, the create is the action comes after you give the noun. Oh, okay. Anything for the Azure CLI starts with AZ. Any command for Azure CLI starts with AZ. So this is by default going to be your first command AZ, and then you specify the Azure resource. The second would be that Azure resource. So if it's a resource group, it would be group here. If it's a VM, it is going to be virtual machine here. And then the action that you're going to perform on that. So create an action, and then you pass on all the parameters, name, location, and for Azure VM create, you pass in that resource group name, and then you pass in the image and the admin username and password. Then AZVM to open on that. Now this the VM gets created. So this is, after you get VM created, you can uh, open the port on that VM to remote into that VM. So open port 80, resource group name VM. Port 80 is for HTTP ideally, and then you pass in connect. Let's see if this works. The Azure. Easy group create parameter name. So here, make sure you type because certain parameters. Why do you type two hyphens here? Because certain parameters are named like this. So let's say name this name group like this. So that uses hyphen, single hyphen within the parameter name. So to differentiate that, you have to use double parameters, parameter value and the parameter name itself. So you pass in this double parameter name and the name of that resource group. So let's say Linux. This is like CLI. Then location you pass let's say US, and by default other character other symbols. Okay, East US is not recommended. This is ideally East US only. So let's like okay, let's see that. Come on. Is CLI. So show locations. So this is one way of discovering this, or you can go to the links that are provided in one of the PowerShell, in one of the PPT there, which will give you the list of all Azure CLI commands. So let's go here and type that now. Get is account with the operations in a tabular format. It will give us. Okay, my bad. Okay, so we are looking for east to west. Okay. Oh, okay, my bad. Actually, I location. Okay, so the resource group is created. And first copy to. Okay, let's leave it. Anyways, we are not going to access this. Okay, let's pass the type password. So this would take some time. Meanwhile, let's look at that link that I spoke of. So that is in the PPT. Yeah, here, module 2, part 1. This link. Okay, so this has the list of all commands related to CLI. So we were looking into AZ account, which would give us the list of all locations here. Okay, so if you look at any of this, let's look at storage. We have something related to storage. Yeah, this is the command for storage. So AZ storage account, and then you would have operations on this like create, create, delete. So pretty straightforward. So and the same syntax or the pattern follows here for within CLI. Let's see if it is okay. My bad. I guess. So this is again that idempotent, right? You cannot have. So it will give an error because the VM, my VM already exists, and the my resource group same resource group name that I gave. I should have ideally changed it to CLI resource group here. This is not idempotent, so that's the advantage of having ARM template. So if I give CLI, to the CLI resource group, right? Let me change it to small. And let me put some other name, VM1. Let's do that. Okay, so it's creating. Hopefully, it should create now. Let's see. CLI resource group. Okay, it will take some time. Okay. So till that happens, have you by chance explored CLI based on our first session that we had on this module?
No, not tried.
Okay. Uh, CLI is there, but most of the companies use PowerShell today to have the same capabilities in CLI as well. But today, if you see PowerShell, it it runs across operating systems. It's a multi-platform today, so you can run PowerShell. Earlier, it was like PowerShell used to run only on Windows, but there is a new PowerShell version called as PowerShell Core, which would run on Linux, Mac OS, as well as on Windows. So, if you have heard of .NET Core, do you know .NET Core?
No,
You didn't know? Okay, you .NET Framework.
don't know.
Which all programming languages do you know?
No, I'm not good in any programming language.
At least to C, C plus C, you would understand, right? That's basic, I guess. Srinu, what about you? You know any programming languages? Oh, Srinu is not there, huh?
Yes, sir. I learned Java. I know Java a little bit and .NET also.
Okay, okay. .NET Core, do you know .NET Core?
.NET Core.
Hmm. Have you heard about that name before?
So some background noise is there. I'm not unable to hear.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
So did you hear .NET Core, this name before?
I mean, you are saying Windows applications. What exactly?
No, it's a programming language. Just like a .NET framework, you have .NET framework, right? Version 3.5, 5, 6, 7. You use C Sharp language to create applications in .NET. Just like Java language, you
Yeah.
have C Sharp language, and C Sharp language is part of .NET framework and .NET
Yes.
Core.
Yes.
Okay. So how
Yes,
much
sir.
experience do you carry, Srinu? Do you
I
know?
have 16 years of experience. You're saying that .NET or complete overall?
I'm just talking about .NET Core, which is a framework to create. It's a framework from Microsoft to create applications, Windows applications or web applications. So there are two versions of .NET today. One is .NET
Yes,
Framework and another one is
core and
.NET
web.
Core. You use C Sharp, VB language, Visual Basic language. Then F Sharp is
C
there.
sharp. I use C sharp.
Yeah, C Sharp. Then
I mean, I
.NET.
learned it long back, but I didn't work on in .NET.
Okay, so you have experience in what, Srinu?
Or a SQL Server production environment.
Okay, okay. So you understand in SQL scripts and everything. Great. Okay. Rakesh, you are just out of your college now.
No, no. I'm a system administrator.
And how much experience you carry there?
I carry 4 years of experience.
Okay, then it becomes important that you learn PowerShell very because
Yes.
system administrator normally then you would be familiar with PowerShell then if you are system administrator because that's what they
Yes,
use to
I'm
automate.
familiar. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay, okay. So how much of programming language you know, Srinu? Like for loop we discussed on that day, those are the basics for programming language. You understand those things?
Yes.
Okay, good. So it's
Oops concepts, functions, everything.
okay, wonderful. Yeah, so what you're planning with this session? I mean, you want to be an Azure administrator or you want to be a data specialist on the Azure?
So my role is actually my previous role is SQL Server environment, data, lead software engineer. So
Hmm.
data engineering something little bit similar to my previous role.
Okay, okay. So you have certain certifications on data, in Azure, like you have big data
No,
analytics. So you might have heard about big data, right? Hadoop and
yes,
HD
yes, I
Insight.
learned it also. Hive, Pig,
Wonderful. Hive,
Spark,
yeah,
and Scala also.
MapReduce. Okay. So you have a specific course for that certification from Azure. I so you're looking for that certification?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes.
good, good. Okay, so for you then knowing a PowerShell at the high level is enough. CLI you it is okay if you know good, but more importantly, ARM templates would be the one you should concentrate on. That it should have an idea about. So then we are good this module then. Okay, so ARM templates I'll just take while that it got created or not. Let's see if it got created. I think it got created. The virtual machine is also running. Let's complete our that script now. We will open port 80 on this for our HTTP traffic to come in. So we are not going to log in, so there is no port. Let me run this now. Let me first change this. I change this CLI resource, CLI resource group and my VM1, and then run this. Okay, should not take much time. One of the interesting
And
question.
Vishwa,
Yeah,
sorry for interrupting you.
sure.
Actually, I want to know also migration concepts also.
SQL, right? SQL data
So
migration concept to Azure Cloud.
not only SQL, total application also. So web
Oh,
pages,
okay,
we
okay. Web, I
something we
mean,
developed in .NET or Java.
mm-hmm.
So front end and back end both and middleware something. We have some applications. I want to deploy or migrate to cloud. So I want perfect in that tasks.
Okay, okay. Fine. Yeah. So we have SQL migration. We will also take the application migration when we come to that module. We create one sample application. We'll try to run it on local, and then we will see how do
Mm.
we go and deploy that in Azure. So that is basically there are multiple ways today to migrate to cloud. Those three models we talked about, right? IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS.
Mm.
SaaS won't be the case
Yes.
in our application because we are creating application, right? There are two ways. You can create a virtual machine, create a IaaS web server there, and then host your application there. Just like you host your application on your on-prem data center, you would have some server and then UIs. That experience will still remain the same. It won't change. Only thing is that you have the VM in the cloud now instead of in your data center. The second experience is using hosting that your application in a PaaS model. That is little different. That is where you need to understand how to migrate your application, because in that case you will not have the flexibility to log into the VM, and the challenges would come there because in VM you can, if you have the third party software dependence on your application, you can go and install that in the VM, but you can't do that in the PaaS model. So
Mhm.
PaaS model has a certain restrictions what applications you can deploy. It will give you the list of applications and the that you can deploy there. You can't go and deploy any application that you want in the PaaS. Only the supported applications will get deployed there. So we look into that aspect as well when we are going through that module. You will be more clear.
Okay, sure.
But
Thank you.
in that case, you have to learn ARM templates. Okay, ARM templates. I think if you are going to deploy and you are most probably you are going to automate that whole process of deployment. So you need to understand ARM templates then better. So
Sure.
that is the next module. So do practice ARM template. Okay. So once we go through that session, so let's see.
Thank you.
Okay. Then okay, we are almost done here. I think we have created that. Oh, so many rules got created. Fine. So let's do our final step. That is MSTSC to this and see what it does. So we have to run this in our PowerShell. Let's do that here. The public IP address we don't know, right? So let's look into here. So we will connect to our virtual machine that we have created now. So the name would be Azure user. That is what we gave. I suppose. Let me look into the Azure user, and the password that I typed in was if I am good at my typing skill, then this is the password. Okay, yeah, it got connected to the virtual machine. So what is the difference you saw here in the CLI versus the PowerShell? You see a lot of commands in PowerShell, but not in CLI. What happened to that NICA, network interface, subnet? We didn't create those in CLI, did we?
No, we haven't created it.
So what happened then? Did the virtual machine got created without those resources? What do you think? What would have happened?
Maybe it has given a default.
You are right. Yeah, it actually created all the resources with the default values. So if you go through the Azure portal, right, even if you don't give virtual network, you would see that is pre-populated with some new tag saying that okay, new virtual network will be created, new public IP address. That's how it is. If you don't give them the default uh, resources are there with default names and default configurations. So this is we are
Even
logging in. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
sorry. Uh, if we don't give those like NIC details and business group details in PowerShell, will it create or will it do?
NSG, yeah, it will create it if you don't give it. But the rules by default, whatever it will allow, it will the default rules like the RDP. If you saw, it was there, so it will create that. But if you want to create any extra rules, you have to do that by your own. Like for example, in this CLI, we are opening up port 80, which is not the default rule. Now this port 80 is where the HTTP traffic would come. So you have to open this port 80. Whenever you deploy any, let's say this was because your virtual machine is hosted as a web server, and that web server will receive traffic on port 80, so you have to open this. And we will actually host one web server on this and we will browse that. So right now I'm logged into my virtual machine. So this is our virtual machine. See, this is our Windows server that we created.
Yes.
So if we look at this local server, see my local, this is the name we gave, right? And this is Windows Server 2016 server. Okay, so
Sorry
let,
for interruption.
yeah.
I'm having one query here.
Hmm.
If you create a Windows server here, will it charge for that license key as well? The total amount, 9,000 something it is charged.
No, no, no. So, see that license you are, it will charge only the time you are running that virtual machine. If you stop that virtual
Okay.
machine, you will not get charged for that license. So, license cost is 9,000. But let's say you ran it for only 1 hour, and that 1 hour you are using that Windows operating server license. Then it will charge only, let's say, 5 rupees or 10 rupees accordingly. So, it is
Okay,
part
yeah,
of the, it is
it is
part
showing
of,
12 rupees something.
yeah, it is part of the overall cost that you see. It's not
Okay.
separate. But there is a way. I mean, if you already have a license, then you can say that, okay, I already have a license while creating this virtual machine, and then it will not charge you, but it will try validating your license. You after your virtual machine gets created, you need to go and configure license on that.
Okay.
Okay, so don't worry, the license cost is not separate. It is integrated into whatever cost you see today.
And if I stop, like if I shut down that virtual machine,
Hmm.
uh, it is not get charged, right?
It will not get charged. But the disk that you have created, the storage disk, it would still be there because once you restart that VM again, you need that OS disk. You
Okay.
cannot delete that OS disk. So, but the charge to
Some
that
amount
storage
will be charged.
or disk will be there, but it is very minimal. So, let's say if you are getting charged 1,000 rupees if you keep it on the virtual machine per day, but if you shut it down, you will be charged like 5 rupees or 10 rupees for that storage cost per day. Not much. It's very negligible cost. You can keep, you can shut down the machine, virtual machine and keep it for years with minimal charges.
Yep.
Right. So where were we actually? Yeah, this command, right? We need to run this command now. Since we have logged into that VM, let's run this command and install web server on this. Okay, we have to run this command in the VM itself. So we'll go there. My bad. Go to PowerShell and control V, run this command. Okay, this will take some time. It will install the web server. So you know this command, and if you're a system admin, you would be familiar with this. Okay, so let's get that created. So that's all I had for this session, and what is left is ARM templates. Okay, so we will go through ARM templates in detail, and then we will quickly end this module with a simple demo on SDKs. Where is SDK? SDKs. We'll spend most of our time in this ARM template. This is going to be important. So just to give you an idea, this we already gone through actually. Let me go here. ARM templates. The schema, the format of ARM template is like this. ARM templates have some schema. Okay, this schema gets updated as and when Microsoft provides new version of it. Okay, so this is the schema version. This schema version declares, okay, you need to have this as a part of this ARM template. So content version, this is for your own, it is at your disposal. So for the first time you create a ARM template, you may want to version it like 000. The second time you update that maybe one. So this is at your disposal to use. API profile, this would be the API version, this ARM template, or whichever resource you're going to create that one. Parameters. So this is similar to parameters like when we create any resource, right? Like Azure VM we created, we provided name, location, those parameters. Those are the parameters you would ideally store it. So these are the parameters to this template itself. Now consider this template as a function. Okay, any function, Azure like we talked about PowerShell function, right? That function will take certain parameters. Similarly, this template will take some parameters. When you run this template, it will ask you some parameters. So those parameters are defined here in this tag. Okay, so ideally these parameters would be the resource group, which is common across, right? Let's like we saw it in our PowerShell. Where is that script? Hmm. Go here, go to this, go to this. This is the parameters, right? We use resource group, location, VM name. So this will be parameters. This is variable actually here, but think of this as a parameters in case of ARM templates. Okay, then you have variables, any local variables that you are going to use across this ARM template. So you declare those variables. Yeah. Any functions. These are pretty straightforward functions. You cannot write complex functions inside it. Then you have resources. So this is where you actually go and declare what resources you want to deploy as part of this ARM templates. So you, for a virtual machine, you would say public IP address, NSG, the disk, the VM, the uh, rules, NSG rules, all those are going to define under these resources. And any output you want to throw, any output you want to give as part of this running after deployment successfully, you can specify that outputs here. Let's say after deploying the virtual machine, you want to give the output as a virtual machine name. So you can output that using this tag. This is the overall structure of the ARM template. Very simple. Uh, it might look intimidating if you actually go and look at the virtual machine template, ARM template. Yeah, we will look into the virtual machine only because that is the most complex. If you understand that, then the other part will be a lot more easier. Okay, so that's all for today's session. Hopefully this command got ran and then we can see some. Okay, it got completed. So let's do this. Okay, so we have a web server, we have a virtual machine. We will grab the IP address of this. Come on. How do I? Yeah. So let's grab the virtual machine and let's see our this one, right? Copy and then let me type it. http://. See, it's running. The default web server that you install on any Windows server, you get this page, IIS page. So this we are accessing on the internet now. So you can try it at your own also. If you type this, just type this on your browser and see, you will get this. Let me know if you are able to see this. Is it working? Hello?
1 minute. HTTP.
Not type S, okay, only HTTP. http://
It's working.
yeah, so you
It's
host, yeah, so you have successfully hosted a web server in Azure IS. That's what it is. Now you go and deploy your application, web application there, and you will see the web application here actually instead of the default page. Okay, so that's the Azure here. If no questions, we can end this session.
okay. Uh,
Okay, we'll look into ARM templates in the next session, and I'm planning to take that session on Saturday somewhere in afternoon. Is that good? Around 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock maybe? For 2 hours, we will have that session.
Yeah, that's good.
Shrinu, what about you? Is that fine with you?
Okay, Praveen.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Then
Cool. Thank you. Okay, practice this PowerShell, specifically that this. And for you, Shrinu, you can explore ARM templates. This one that is going to be important. Okay, understand the ARM template feature from the module one. So we spoke about some features now. Why ARM template? So those you can actually go and explore in the ARM template feature and follow up on that the next session. Okay, guys. Then have a nice day. Bye bye.
Yeah, thank
Take
you,
care.
sir.